Hey guys, my name is Danny and I'm your life and relationship coach. And let's talk about long distance relationships. I know this is something that is very real for people right now, obviously, in this COVID environment. A lot of people have transitioned into long distance relationships due to the inability to travel and just geographical separation and just things not being as easy as they were. But as cliche as it may sound, that quote, that phrase, distance makes the heart grow fonder, is true. And it can be applied to your situation if you are able to manage your relationship well, if you're able to really kind of maintain that connection and that bond and that chemistry. So a lot of people always ask, well, how do I keep a long distance relationship going, especially if you are somebody who is not used to being in a long distance relationship. You're used to being geographically closer to your partner, and this is new territory for you. So I wanted to provide some tips for you in order to maintain and sustain and grow a healthy long distance relationship. So let's get right into the tips. Tip number one: share similar goals. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you guys have to have the same exact goals, right? Because you're two completely different individuals. And as individuals, you will have different dreams and aspirations. But as a couple, it is important to work and strive towards something together that helps to build the connection, to build the bond, and even more so in regards to creating a plan or something to work towards together. My suggestion or my recommendation would be to pick a length of time in which you plan on being in this long distance relationship, and what the goal is in regards to being able to geographically come closer together on a more permanent basis. So what does that mean? That means you guys should sit down and have a conversation and say, okay, look, I'm super happy with you. I want this to continue. I really want to invest more time into this relationship. What are we looking at in regards to the amount of time that we are going to remain in this long distance relationship? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? So that the both of you guys have an idea in your minds as to when you will be able to move closer together and start to really make this relationship the dynamic that you want. Tip number two: quality communication. A lot of people mistaken speaking all the time for good communication, when the reality is there's a difference between quantity and quality. If you speak all the time, if you are constantly texting and calling each other and Skyping and Zooming and all of that stuff, all of those things are great in the beginning of a relationship because that is what we call the infatuation phase, right? So there is this period of time where you just want to be around each other all the time. You want to talk all the time. And with a long distance relationship, that can be very difficult. So the mode of communication is usually going to be your phone. There is a difference, again, like I said, between quantity and quality. Quality conversation is when you are able to sit down and invest the time into really having a good, productive, efficient conversation with your partner. So if those conversations happen maybe once or twice a week, that's better than just constantly having a conversation or talking throughout the day, every day, 7 days a week, right? Because you will feel like you are getting to know your partner, a little bit consistently and over a longer period of time. So there's almost kind of like this build up to the connection, to the bond. And also you're able to really kind of invest the time and the energy to have these more in-depth conversations. That is crucial when you are starting to build a relationship, especially when it's long distance. Tip number three: schedule your calls. I know this seems very just transactional or very just disconnected and not personal and not sexy, but the reality of the situation is you guys are living in two completely different states, two completely different cities, counties, whatever the case may be, and you have two separate lives. So your work schedule may be different than their work schedule. right? You may be hanging out with friends and they're not hanging out with friends that day. You may have errands that you have to run and they may be free. And if they want to call you and they want to talk and they are unaware of what your schedule looks like, that's going to create some conflict, right? Because they may feel like you're never available or vice versa. So just being upfront and saying, hey, let's have a conversation on Friday at 5 p.m. Does that work for you? Because then you both are able to prepare for the conversation. You have the energy to sustain the conversation, and you also are able to invest more time. So it doesn't feel like you're on a time constraint, right? So sometimes when you just call your partner out of the blue, those conversations may last 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you may not necessarily feel fulfilled after that conversation. But to be able to schedule it and sit down and say, okay, cool, we chose a day. This is going to be our day every single week. You're able to have longer, more fulfilling conversations. Tip number 4, don't overplan. So when you do have the ability to actually spend physical time with your partner, right? So there's no longer the geographical distance. Depending on your situation and the dynamic of your relationship, maybe you see each other every few weeks or every couple of months, or maybe 3 or 4 times every 6 months, right? So if that is your case and you finally actually get to be in proximity with your partner, spending time, whether that be, at their home or in a hotel room or whatever the case may be, do not overplan. People have the tendency of wanting to jam pack their schedules when your partner is visiting or when you're visiting your partner, because there's just so many things you want to do together. But keep in mind, that can also be very exhausting. And some of the best bonding moments in regards to just really feeling close to your partner is just hanging out on the couch with Netflix, a blanket, maybe some hot chocolate if it's the winter, whatever the case may be. But those silent, quiet, relaxed moments are sometimes more important than feeling like you have to do a ton of stuff when you are around each other. Because if you are packing your schedule and you're going to the museum and you're going to, if you're in New York, Central Park, and just if you're doing too many activities, by the time you get home, you will probably be exhausted. And when people are exhausted, that's usually when arguments happen. So let's keep it safe. Let's keep it casual. Let's keep it relaxed. Tip number 5, live your life. When you are in your city and your partner is in their city, don't constantly think about what they're doing. Don't constantly be wondering if they're thinking about you or how their day is going, or it's too much, right? Control the things that you can control, which is your day, your schedule, what you're doing. Hang out with your friends, do your regular activities, whether that's exercising, going to yoga, Pilates, meditating, whatever it is that you do on a daily basis, continue to do those things, right? Because the primary thing that you want to make sure you do is keep your identity. People have a tendency of losing themselves when they get into a relationship because they feel like they need to bend or flex a little bit, which is fine because that is what we call compromise. But when you bend or flex too much, that is when you start to feel like you're losing yourself and you lose your identity. So being in a long distance relationship actually helps in regards to practicing keeping yourself a priority, making sure you are on the pedestal, making sure that you are fulfilling yourself and doing things that make you happy. So use it as good practice so that when you guys do come together, you already have developed that rhythm, that routine, where you will be much better off in regards to maintaining your own self identity. So just to review the 5 tips. The first one is share similar goals. The second is quality communication. The third is schedule your calls. The fourth is don't overplan. And the fifth is live your life. If you guys related to this video, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below. I love having open conversations with people. So if you have any questions, or if there's anything that you think I missed in the video, or if you are yourself are currently in a long distance relationship situation and there's things that have worked for you and things that haven't worked for you, please leave it in the comment box down below. If you just want to know more, if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, you can visit us at happily committed.com, where we have a multitude of different articles and blogs and videos related to this subject and many other subjects as well. Or if you just wanted to book a one-on-one coaching session with myself or one of the other amazing coaches that we have on the team, you can book directly through the website as well. Again, my name is Danny, and I'm your life and relationship coach. Wishing you guys health and happiness, and I'll see you guys soon.